America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. And if you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass off a particular moment in time. I don't give a damn.
They're calling
Oh my God.
No.
You love this.
It's 30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
So let's already kick this off. All right, here we go. We got the Cleveland Browns and Joe Flacco coming to Houston, Texas to take on CJ Stroud and Demeco Ryans, who's coaching incredible job this year. Somebody was saying something about Gerard Mayo, and they said he's too young. And I said, really? Demeco Ryans? Remember he's in the playoffs, right? How old is he? Like,
Yep.
So yes, he is the exception. He's doing things that we're not used to seeing. We're not used to a first-time head coach having playoff success immediately. And we're not used to quarterbacks coming into the league as rookies and having the kind of success CJ Stroud is having. So I guess the question is, in a year of exceptions, why does the story have to end on Saturday against Cleveland? On the other side of the ball, you got a Cleveland Browns team who is really good, spectacular, in my opinion, from the beginning of the season, but then they lost their franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson, season-ending shoulder surgery, and we all kind of just gave up because they started going with PJ Walker and other quarterbacks. The carousel started, and then they picked up their phone and they started dialing Joe Flacco. Hey, man, do you still play quarterback? We have a really good team, and if you can just come in and not PJ Walker, we might actually go the distance.
Yep.
And Joe Flacco said, say less, I will be there in a minute, and he definitely gave the Cleveland Browns that extra boost. Is that boost going to be enough to take this Browns team on the road and beat the Houston Texans at home in front of their home crowd? I can only imagine that the atmosphere is going to be incredible. The energy is going to be electric. And in the playoffs, that kind of energy, it means something. That momentum, they say it's a 3-point home field advantage. Well, in the playoffs, I think it's more like 4.5, 5. This is a huge home field advantage, but Cleveland playing off their defense, running the football, and Joe Flacco, don't make it sound like he's game managing. This guy's thrown for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns. Rick, who do you got in this game? And do you think that out of all the games this weekend that because I think this was one of the harder ones for me. Do you think this was one of the harder, more difficult games to predict?
100%. 100%, man. Because like you said, the Browns defense is spectacular. They have been great all season. That is one of the reasons that you had them in your top 5 earlier in the season than most people would have, right? I called you crazy. I called you insane. I said, fuck you for doing that, Kyle. We are no longer doing this podcast. I was just kidding. We're not doing that. But I called you crazy.
Almost got there.
Almost got there. But no, man, this was one of the harder ones because like you said, that home field advantage, you get that home field swing, and really a lot of the home teams are supposed to win, right? Like we go game through game, week through week during the regular season. And most of the times we're like, oh, well, if this is a hard one, we're picking the home team, right? Because of that swing. That to me is not the case for this game. I have got the Browns winning this game in Houston, 23-17. Wow. Now, the Browns, talked about their defense. They are so good. They are number 1 in yards per game, but they are dead last in probably one of the more important parts of the game, and that's red zone scoring for the opposition. They are dead last in opposition red zone scoring. Now, look, does opposition get in the red zone a lot on the Browns? Not really when you really look at it, right? So can that be something that Stroud and the Texans, take advantage of? They get in the red zone. They are facing the worst defense in the red zone. They could punch it in a couple ways. They could use the running game. They could use Stroud. They could use the passing game. They could do all sorts of things to score in the red zone, but they have to get there first. And going against this top-ranked defense in the Browns, that's going to be a tough task. but you know that the red zone scoring for the Browns is there. That's a great option. Now, for the Texans, they have a strong rush defense, and one of the best parts of the game, even without Chubb for the Browns right now, is their rushing game. It's Kareem Hunt, it's Jerome Ford. Can the Texans shut them down? Absolutely. They're not huge playmakers. They aren't a Chubb. They aren't like a Jahmyr Gibbs or DeAndre. So they aren't those type of guys. They can absolutely shut these guys down. Now you make the Browns one-dimensional with the pass game. The Browns have passed the game 36, almost 37 times a game this season. But what makes the difference with that? The Browns own one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. And if you shut that down, you've already got the number one defense in yards per game. That's why I've got the Browns winning this game 23-17. Kyle, do you agree? Or are you going Houston? What are you doing? Because I see you over there. I see you scheming over there.
I gotta see something really quick. And I was not planning on looking this up, but here we go.
Kyle's about to hit me with the stats.
Yep, you already know that we're getting in the weeds today. Why not? Why not? Okay. I just want to say, when CJ Stroud was having the kind of year he had, I came on this podcast and I said some bold things. And if you guys follow this channel, then you know that we don't clickbait headline things. We don't say things for saying that. Like there's a whole area on Twitter that is just about engagement, and they'll say the most off the wall shit. I never want to be like that. I want my opinions I want people to know that I really believe this. And when I say that CJ Stroud's the best quarterback that's come into the league since Patrick Mahomes,
wow,
that's not an exaggeration. That's not me being a victim of the moment. Look at the numbers and look at what he's done. Now, you mentioned Cleveland's defense, and this is what I wanted to remind everybody about. In the college football playoffs, when CJ Stroud was there, he had this team, I believe, with a 35-24 lead over number one Georgia, who was known for defense, right? Georgia's got a really nasty defense in the league, and CJ Stroud was able to throw the ball no problem because he's a winner, and that's what winners do. They overcome. They overcome obstacles. And yes, Cleveland's defense is really good, and they did end the season on a hot streak. And it's not that I don't believe in the Cleveland Browns, but I'm going with the Texans. I'm taking the Houston Texans. I'm taking Demeco Ryans. I'm taking the home team. And you know I love the Browns. And I really do believe if they had Deshaun Watson that they're a Super Bowl contender this year. But they have Joe Flacco. And I do think, although Joe Flacco's played good so far, we have to keep in mind that, yeah, we all know that Joe Flacco got ice in his veins in the playoffs. Guys, that was 12 years ago. We need to manage expectations because it is Joe Flacco hasn't been in this position in a long time. And for us to just assume that he's going to go into this hostile environment and nothing's going to change, I don't know if that's entirely true. Now, the same could be said for CJ Stroud. We don't know what he's going to look like in a game like this. But I think that the Texans and CJ Stroud, specifically CJ Stroud, I think he's going to be the difference in this game. He's going to make those one or two plays that get because this is not going to be a blowout, right? He's going to make those one or two plays where not only do the Texans win, but everybody gets on board with CJ Stroud is an elite quarterback in the NFL. And I think that the Texans could even go beyond this round, but just keeping it at this round for right now, I'm taking the Texans to get the job done at home. And it sucks for the Browns because I do think that this is kind of a wasted year because they lost their quarterback. And if Joe Flacco does find a way to win this game, I would be surprised. And I know that Cleveland is the favorite going into this game. I believe they're 4-point favorites. I'm going to pull it up right now just to verify. But I don't understand why. This game is in Houston, and I think it's because, remember, the Texans were playing really good, and then CJ Stroud got hurt, and then he was out for 3 weeks, and we all just kind of like forgot about the Texans entirely.
Yeah.
But CJ Stroud, before he got hurt, was throwing for like 500-yard games, 400-yard games. Like, so yeah, he's not going to probably throw for 500 yards against his defense, but maybe he can throw for 275 and 2 touchdowns. Maybe he could do something like that. Yeah. Tank Dell got hurt, but Nico Collins has risen up to be a top 5 receiver this year. I'm not saying like he's a top 5 guy right now, but he's definitely become a dynamic weapon. He's hard to cover, and CJ Stroud and him have a great rapport. I think they're going to come out. They're going to be in a rhythm. I don't think they're going to ask him to do too much like the Texans. It seems like they just kind of hang in there, and then when they need CJ Stroud to make that 1 or 2 plays per game to get him the win, that's what he comes in, and that's what he does. And to me, this Texans team reminds me a lot of the Bengals in Joe Burrow's second year, where nobody gave him a chance, and they won, and they won, and they won, and they lost in the Super Bowl, but we all considered it a massive dub for Bengals Kingdom, or whatever they call themselves. We were like, wow, that is awesome that Joe Burrow, in only his second year, remember his first year, he got hurt. Yeah. So I think the Texans right now, I'm feeling a little bit of deja vu between Joe Burrow and this Texans team. Zach Taylor was a young head coach, new head coach. I think he was in his second year when they took him to the Super Bowl. Demeco Ryans his first year. It's all just 1 year prior. But to me, this feels like a very similar team. The defense wasn't outstanding for the Bengals, but they were good enough to be in the playoffs. So I think that the Texans, they were my dark horse, like playoff team from the AFC to make a push all the way. And I'm not gonna change that in Wildcard weekend against the Browns. Although I don't think this is gonna come easy. This is gonna be a very, very hard win. But CJ Stroud, he plays with so much poise. I would actually be shocked if he didn't look like himself in this game. Because last week he was playing for the playoffs as well, and we didn't notice any kind of decline in performance or anything like that. Like, he still seemed to me like CJ Stroud, and he was just getting back from injury. So I expect him to be a little bit better than he was last week, and I do expect him to throw for over 275 yards. Maybe he doesn't hit 300, but he's going to be in the high 200s. I think the Texans are going to be able to do a lot more than people are predicting. And it's because they have a franchise quarterback and an amazing head coach, and they're at home, for crying out loud. Texans aren't the favorite, but they're going to be my favorite for this game. And I am taking CJ Stroud to continue his very surprising and just spectacular rookie season. He could have been MVP if he didn't get hurt. He's going to go prove it again on Saturday.
And what's surprising too is, like, this is just unheard of, right? Like, you saw what Joe Burrow did. You mentioned it. It was his second season. It was under second-year head coach Zach Taylor. This defense, or this team of the Bengals, like, they got Jamar Chase too, right? Like, bring in Jamar. Let's get him in here because I threw to him in college, and they have a great connection. This seems to be a formula that teams can follow, going forward. I'm going to not only draft the quarterback, but I'm going to draft his number 1 wide receiver, or I'm going to draft the quarterback who's one of the best in his class, and we have a solid chance of going into the playoffs, whether it's a wild card, whether as a division winner, whatever. It's just that seems to be like something that's in the works now. And you've said it before. These college guys coming out of college, their second, third year, they are NFL ready, and they are proving it in their rookie years. And CJ Stroud, again, 22 years old, going up against 39-year-old Joe Flacco. It was one of the funny things that I saw I think Demeco Ryans was talking about it. They had asked him, they're like, how does it feel going up against one of the oldest quarterbacks? And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're the same age. We're the same age. Demeco Ryans like, we're the same age. We're both 39. Yeah, he's not old. What are you talking about? He's young. So it's funny the levels to it. You got your CJ Stroud's head coach is 39 years old. CJ Stroud himself is 22. And he's going up against the quarterback on the other side who's also 39 years old, the same as his head. Like, it's just like, it's
that's wild.
It's such a funny thing to kind of think about if you're a Texans fan or a Browns fan. And
like
obviously
Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. I think they were like the same age too.
And Sean McVay was younger than a lot of the veterans on the Rams when he took over. So it was like one of those questions, like, how do you do it, man? How do you get them to respect you? How do you get them to, and they've all got their ways. And, one of the other things too in this game is Deshaun Watson coming back to Houston. Houston Texans have not been in a playoff game, or I believe hosted a playoff game. Let me see. Let's see. I believe they haven't hosted a playoff game since 2019 with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. So it's gonna be nice for the Texans to kind of redo that, but they're also gonna have their old quarterback there on the other sideline. So again, I'm going Browns. I think the defense, what they're gonna do, is they're gonna rattle CJ Stroud. They're gonna make this outstanding quarterback throughout the regular season. Like, he's going to look good, but they're going to shut him down, I believe. And while he may have like a decent game, like you said, 250, 275 yards, I think Joe Flacco, who's able to come back from interceptions, from bad throws, missed receivers, he's just able to say, you know what? I'm still going to go long. I cannot be scared. This is a one and done game. We win or we go home. Why am I going to play scared? Why am I going to be conservative? There's nothing about Joe Flacco that tells me that he's scared of the moment. And that's exactly what he showed these last 6 games, 5 games, whatever it was with the Browns, man. I think they got a good one, and he's playing like it too. So again, I'm taking the Browns to win this one in Houston.
I agree with that. And just to be clear, like, I bring up the Joe Flacco question, but I do think that Joe Flacco is playing with an insane amount of confidence right now. And I think that's what's working so well for him. And I think when you have a defense that good, that's kind of where that confidence comes from. Now, if CJ Stroud starts throwing the ball down the field and scoring touchdowns, is he going to be able to go out and play with that same confidence when it maybe goes to a shootout back and forth? Like, is he going to be able to pace? But that defense is really good, so it might not even be like that type of game where it goes back and forth. But I get what you're saying about Joe Flacco, because there's a part of me, I watched him, what was it, Sunday? His last win, it was a big one. It was like a playoff clinching win. It was the Thursday night game against the Jets. Yeah, and he sat down with them after, and he was like just so happy. Like, people forget he was our quarterback for an entire year. And I watched him every press conference. I met him in person after a blowout. And he did not seem like even the same person. Like, he looked like he was so much more joyful. He was so much happy just to be there. And he's like, I just can't believe that this is even happening to me right now. Like, I'm just lucky to be here. And I do think that that's the type of energy that is dangerous, right? Like, because he's playing with house money. And and after a year with the Jets last season, you're totally feeling much better in this situation. Yeah, way better. and he when you're happy and it just all translates very well to the field. Like, at the quarterback position, if you're all messed up in your head, like, we can see it on Sunday. Like, Justin Fields going back and forth about trying to prove that he's not a running quarterback and I'm only going to throw it. And then he's like not running it. It's like, we can see that awkwardness. It really does manifest itself physically on the field. And I think Joe Flacco, he just seems so mentally sharp and just in a great headspace. That is the one thing that concerns me a little bit, but I do find myself kind of waiting for Cleveland or Joe Flacco to be Joe Flacco. And I hate to be like a Debbie Downer. I know it's a great story. I know everybody. I don't even know where that term comes from.
The Debbie Downer.
Yeah, no clue. I should probably look it up. But but I definitely believe like Joe Flacco at some point is gonna he's Joe Flacco. Like if he was really this good, then why is he at home and not on the field until somebody calls? Like there's a part of me that really does believe that Joe Flacco, like it was a great run, right? It was a great run, but the way I look at it for my prediction is that great run is going to come to an end. And apparently it's going to surprise a lot of people because, like I said, Cleveland is favored to win this game. They are this crazy. Houston's a home underdog against Joe Flacco. I mean, I'm still processing this. This is insane. And could you imagine if Deshaun Watson was in this game? Oh my
God. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the script writers did their job, but Deshaun Watson needed to stay healthy, man.
He
needed to stay healthy.